Beijing bans unmarried women from accessing ART, including egg freezing. So it's based on regulations implemented since 2003, back to the one-child policy, which states couples that breaks population and family planning laws and unmarried women should not have access to ART services. And last month, a Chinese woman named Teresa Xu has filed her final appeal to a Beijing court, suing a public hospital for violating her reproductive rights. And that case has been going for 4 years, and the reason she's filing this appeal is because China's courts had already ruled against her last year. We still don't know the result, but from this case, I think many women can see how challenging it can be to get the services in China, and obviously not everyone is prepared for that.
Yeah, it is interesting, you know, because if we think about it, since that time, China's population has been declining. The government has been encouraging people to have more children, so why don't they update this policy?
Yeah, it is a very good question, and many people have raised a similar question given the declining population. And according to experts I have spoken to, there are two parts of the reasons. The first part is traditional social values. You know, there's still such a strong presence of this traditional value among policymakers and in the society in general that a healthy child would need both parents involved in upbringing, and a healthy family need to be one man, one woman, and children. And a second part of it is a desire for social stability. So in China, there's an excess of 30 million single men compared to single women. And according to Professor Shu Xiaoling from University of California, Davis, I have interviewed, her research shows these are two very different groups. The single women are normally very well educated, high income and from urban areas, and single men are normally not very educated and low income and from rural areas. So imagine a large number of poorly compensated single men in society. It's very easy to consider them as elements that are threatening social stability and causing social problems from the government perspective.
Yeah, interesting. It is also quite expensive for these unmarried women to go overseas to freeze their eggs to still give them a chance of having a child.
Yeah, so two dimensions of challenges. From this women's perspective, they might not be able to use them. And the similar data also was discovered among women in Australia and other countries. But in China, one of the women I interviewed, she freezed her eggs in Los Angeles. And she's worried, you know, if one day US-China's relationship goes worse, what she's going to do with her visa and with her eggs. And another woman I interviewed, she freezed her eggs in Thailand. And when she went to the hospital, she was told there that her rights for using her own eggs are still restrained by local laws. So according to Thailand's 2015 regulations, that unmarried women, although they are allowed to freeze their eggs, but to unfreeze their eggs and access IVF services, they will still need to provide marriage certificate. And if we look into the bigger picture, it's really expensive. So if you go to the US, you need to pay nearly 40K Australian dollars. And if you go to Thailand, it's 17K. So there's a disparity of accessing those resources in China. So normally women go overseas to get the services, are middle class or upper middle class women. But for women living in, you know, poor financial situations or in rural area, getting, you know, freeze eggs overseas is not an option.
No.
But it's interesting that experts also have observed this change in China, that those urban educated young women are more aware of their rights and they're becoming pioneers in challenging social values and practices. And don't forget, China has a long history of restricting, you know, making population policies and population planning policies. So we don't know how this change would go in future, and yeah, I'm keen to see it.
Yeah. Interesting case. We'll watch with interest how that appeal goes. Good to talk to you, Joyce. Thanks.
Thank you so much.